guys today. Caitlin Clark gets kneed in the groin, punched in the throat. Alyssa Thomas puts all of her body weight on her to stand up after falling to the ground, punching her and kneeing her in the groin. No foul gets called. They play on. Caitlin Clark shoots a three. A player on the Phoenix Mercury gets into her landing space. Caitlin Clark comes down on her foot. No flagrant.
Let's talk about what happened in that Phoenix game. Because what you're seeing in that clip isn't just anger about bad officiating. That's a complete breakdown of trust between a fan base and the coaching staff they thought would protect their franchise player. Caitlin Clark took a knee to the groin from Alyssa Thomas. She took a fist to the throat while Thomas used her full body weight to stand up off her. Then she got undercut on a three-point attempt, came down on a defender's foot, and immediately grabbed her back. 3 separate incidents. 3 opportunities for the coaching staff to defend their player. And Stephanie White sat on that sideline with her arms crossed, doing absolutely nothing.
This is a coach that said, I ride with Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White, you ride with Alyssa Thomas. You ride with DeWanna Bonner. You don't ride with the CC22. You wish you did. You want people to think that you do, but you don't. You ride for Alyssa Thomas. You ride for DeWanna Bonner. You don't ride for Caitlin Clark. You don't ride for your team. The only person you might ride for is Kelsey Mitchell.
Here's what makes this significant. Stephanie White came into Indiana with a very specific promise. She told everyone she rides with Caitlin Clark. That was her pitch. That was how she sold herself to the organization and the fan base. I'm the coach who understands this player, who will protect this player, who will build around this player. But when it actually mattered, when her franchise player was getting targeted with physical play that crossed the line into dangerous, Stephanie White didn't get a technical foul. She didn't even stand up. The contrast between what she promised and what she delivered in that moment couldn't be more stark.
A talentless hack she is. Showing what a talentless hack she is. When you don't have skill, you use physicality. Alyssa Thomas. Again, folks, this play, no foul, no flagrant, no review. Just Caitlin Clark, get up and play on. And then she leans all of her weight on Caitlin Clark, getting up while continuing to jab her in the throat. No play here. And they said the referees were going to call this game tight. My ass, they were going to call this game tight.
Now let's add another layer to this. That back injury Clark was grabbing after the landing space violation, that's not new. She's been wearing a back brace for weeks. And here's where the story gets problematic. The organization tried to hide this injury. When Scott Agnes, the Fever beat reporter, mentioned it was load management related to the back issue, he got fired. Not reassigned, not given a warning, fired. The message was clear. We don't want anyone talking about Caitlin Clark's back. Stephanie White told reporters the back brace wasn't a concern, just precautionary, nothing to see here. But if it's nothing, why is Clark reaching for her back the moment she lands awkwardly? Why is she leaving games in the third quarter with back tightness? The injury is real. The organization lied about it. And now their star player is taking unnecessary physical abuse because the coach won't stand up for her.
All the shills that now want to flip back on Stephanie White needs to do this and Stephanie White needs to stop, and all the shills that are now flipping back into the real world, stop flipping back into the real world. You've already contributed to this nonsense enough by hiding and allowing them to conceal this injury and not asking about this injury and not pressing about this injury. You guys allowed this. So please stop acting like we're just coming. Oh, whoa, finally I see the light. No. We've seen the light when she first showed up with the back brace.
Think about the position this puts Caitlin in. She's a rookie. She can't call out her own coach publicly without creating a massive distraction. She can't demand protection without looking soft or entitled. She's stuck relying on the coaching staff to have her back, and they're failing her. Meanwhile, Alyssa Thomas and Diana Taurasi are high-fiving in the tunnel. They know exactly what they're doing. They're testing how much physicality the refs will allow, and they're discovering there's no line. Because if the Fever coaching staff won't even complain about a knee to the groin and a fist to the throat, why would the officials suddenly decide to crack down? This creates a blueprint for every other team. You can be physical with Clark, you can push the boundaries. Because her coach won't fight for her.
First time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time. You didn't ask about that. Then they fired Scott Agnes because he said it was load management, because her back's not 100% healthy. And you guys joked around about, ha ha, he, key, cool. No flagrant foul called on this, by the way, either. The referees. Where are the referees at? This is the problem right here. Stephanie White would rather make sure she keeps her relationship with Alyssa Thomas, sexual, allegedly, than crash out over her.
Here's the other piece that fans are picking up on. Stephanie White has deep connections to the old guard of the WNBA. She played with many of these veterans. She coached against them. She has relationships she wants to maintain. And there's a theory gaining traction that White is more concerned about preserving those relationships than she is about protecting her franchise player. That when Alyssa Thomas commits a flagrant foul, Stephanie White sees a former colleague, not an opponent who just injured her star. That her loyalty is split between the player who's supposed to be her priority and the league veterans she came up with. Now, we can't know for certain what's in someone's head, but we can judge actions. And the action we saw was a coach who refused to stand up when her player got kneed in the groin. That's not debatable. That happened. The question is why.
Jabbed in the throat. People defend this coach? Oh, but Ben, she said she rides with Caitlin Clark. Yeah, my ass, she rides with Caitlin Clark. Oh, but Ben, they hug and kiss and do all of it. I don't care. That's all for show. That's all for the cameras. You actually see how they actually act, how Caitlin Clark reacts, what Stephanie White actually says in press conferences and things that she does on the floor. She doesn't ride for Caitlin Clark. Then, of course, we know that Jamel Hill and Chris Williamson, two of the big...
Let's look at the immediate aftermath. Kelly Kraskoff, the team president, went to the back to check on Clark. Amber Cox, an assistant coach, went to check on her. But where was Stephanie White? Still on the sideline, still focused on the game they were losing. And here's what that tells players around the league. It tells them that in Indiana, the front office cares more about Caitlin Clark's health than the head coach does. That's a devastating message to send. Because when you're on the court, you're not looking to the president's box for support. You're looking at your head coach. And if that coach won't fight for you, you're alone out there.
Make this stuff up. Then you got John the Liquidator in the building reporting. Amber just got up and went to Caitlin Clark in the back. You have Kelly Kraskoff getting up, going to Caitlin Clark in the back. No foul calls at all. No foul call on that play at all. And the thing is, you know, Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, they're all dapping it up in the locker room over there. They're all clapping each other high five in the locker room over there.
The Fever lost that game 111 to 109. Clark left in the third quarter and never returned. Without her, they couldn't close. And the fan base reaction wasn't about the loss. Nobody cared about the loss. They cared that their franchise player left injured after taking repeated cheap shots, and the coaching staff acted like it was just another game. Compare this to how other coaches handle star player protection. When someone undercuts Sabrina Ionescu, Sandy Brondello is on her feet immediately, screaming at the officials. When Aja Wilson takes a hard foul, Becky Hammon is halfway onto the court demanding a review. These coaches understand that part of their job is setting a tone. You touch my star player with dirty play, there will be consequences, even if it's just me getting a technical to make a point. Stephanie White doesn't do that, and players notice, opponents notice, and they adjust their strategy accordingly.
In this. The old WNBA guard that some people want to get along with and key with and ha-ha with, I ain't with that. Because you know where their attentions lie. I'm not with WNBA. I don't want to be with them at all. I don't want to be part of that club. I don't want to be part of that clique. I'll stay over here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like the video, hype the video, and subscribe to the channel. Caitlin Clark was on the run for a heater, by the way. We were on a 30-point watch, of course. And then this nonsense happened.
So where does this leave the Indiana Fever heading into next season? Because this isn't going away. The fan base is calling for wholesale changes. They want Stephanie White gone. They want Kelly Kraskoff gone. They want everyone associated with this decision-making gone. And here's the uncomfortable truth that the organization has to face. Caitlin Clark is the reason the Fever are relevant. She's the reason they're selling out arenas. She's the reason they're getting national television games. She's the reason the franchise value has skyrocketed. She is the asset that matters above everything else. If the coaching staff can't protect that asset, if they're more concerned about league politics and old relationships than they are about keeping their franchise player healthy and on the court, then they're failing at the most basic level of their job. And no amount of offensive schemes or defensive rotations can compensate for that fundamental failure. The Fever have to ask themselves a question. Do we want to build around Caitlin Clark for the next decade, or do we want to maintain Stephanie White's relationships with WNBA veterans? Because based on what we saw in Phoenix, you can't have both. White has made her choice clear. Now the organization needs to make theirs. This isn't about one game. This isn't about one missed call. This is about establishing a culture where your star player knows the coaching staff will go to war for her when it matters. And right now, that culture doesn't exist in Indiana. The question for Fever management is simple. How many more times does Caitlin Clark have to leave a game injured before you decide that protecting her is more important than protecting your coach's reputation? Because from where the fans are sitting, once was already too many times. If you think Stephanie White needs to be held accountable for this, drop a comment. If you think I'm being too harsh and she deserves more time, tell me why. Because this conversation about coach accountability and star player protection is just getting started, and the Fever's response is going to set the tone for how they're viewed going forward. Hit subscribe if you want more honest WNBA analysis without the corporate filter. I'll see you in the next one.